Next up, another college football semifinal. Georgia and Michigan, the main event, Kyle, on New Year's Eve. If we set the table for this one, UGA, Georgia, favored by over a touchdown at -7.5. Kyle, we saw as high as 8.5 here. The Michigan Wolverines coming to town, red hot, knocking off Ohio State, winning the Big Ten championship, and winding up now in the college football playoff. One of those years where we didn't expect all that much out of Harbaugh and the boys from Michigan, and now here they are, possibly playing for a national championship. Look at the total in this game, 45.5. It is ultra low. Both of these teams do play good defense, but I'm telling you, in just a few moments, I'm going to explain to you why I think the over is the right play in this game. But overall, Kyle, just looking at the game itself here, it's a good one here. This is why it's the second game of the night. It's number 2. It's versus number 3. It should be a good one. But at the same time, I haven't changed, Kyle. The minute we saw about a month ago where they were announcing the teams that made the college football playoff, immediately popped into my mind. You give me more than a touchdown, I'm taking Michigan, and I'm sticking with that.
Yeah, I'm taking the points as well. I'm going to take both underdogs to cover in this scenario in the national championship playoff, and I actually think both of them. I mean, I feel better about Michigan beating Georgia than I do Cincinnati beating Alabama. Absolutely, I think anyone would. But look, Michigan has a stout defense. If they can throw the ball with any sort of consistency, have any sort of explosive plays. Look, that Georgia secondary shown when you pressure them and you spread them out, there was a lot of missed coverages, some bad man-to-man plays. That defense, even though it was historically good during the regular season, it showed some chinks in the armor. If Michigan can throw the football here, they can win this game. Michigan's defense is very good. Of course, the young kid they're talking about, their best defensive back, may or may not be with the team for the game. They're not ruling it out. Apparently, it's a personal issue, nothing to do with COVID, so that's the good news. But I lean Michigan here. I'm going to take the points. Anything more? I'm just not that impressed with Georgia. I hadn't really watched them play, but now that I've gotten to, I'm not impressed with their quarterback. Not impressed with that secondary. I do like their pass rush, and they are getting some of those receivers back, and I do realize in that Alabama game they were without their top running back as well. But I'm just not seeing that special factor from Georgia. We've seen them wilt in big games. I like Michigan to cover here, and I think they have a really decent chance of winning this game outright.
Yeah, no, look, it's going to be a good one. And again, that's why they put it second there. The Orange Bowl, so it's down in South Florida. It should be popping on New Year's Eve. If we take a look at the off, because most of the time, Kyle, you look at Michigan and you look at Georgia. What's the first thing you think of? Oh, they play really good defense. And rightfully so. Outside of the game against Alabama, where 41 points got dropped on Georgia's head, 0 points, or actually 0 in a shutout against Georgia Tech, 7 against Charleston Southern. That should have been a shutout there. 41-17 Tennessee, 43-6 over Missouri. That's the last 5 games. Take a look at Michigan, Kyle. 3, 27, 18, 17, and 7. They're really good defenses. But let's take a look at the offensive side of the football here. Take a look here just with Georgia. And I'm not even talking about 500, 600, 700 yards. Just look at the legitimateness of their offense, which doesn't really pop off the screen because they relied so much on their defense during the season. Almost 450 yards versus Alabama in that football game. Versus Georgia Tech, Kyle, 209 on the ground, 255 in the air. Versus Tennessee, 274 on the ground, 213 in the air. Versus Missouri, 168 on the ground, 337 in the air. And then we forget about Michigan, right? Hey, let's run the football. Let's keep it close. Not necessarily the case, Kyle. Look at their 5 games. They had over 460 yards against Iowa, who's known to slow the football game down. Didn't slow it down in the Big Ten championship game. Look at Ohio State, almost 300 yards on the ground and a $190 in the air. Versus Maryland, 151 on the ground, 352 in the air. I think this game is getting a little bit undersold. Figured it's going to be such a defensive game. I think it goes over the 45.5.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. I like it quite a bit. And you got to remember, there's going to be some rust. There's going to be some players who aren't used to tackling. A lot of these guys aren't being allowed to hang out or hang out together, do anything. They're really afraid of COVID, especially in Georgia's case. They're in a supposed COVID hotspot there. So there's going to be some rust. There's going to be some big plays. It's a national playoff semifinal. And I think you're right. I think 45 is too low for 2 decent pedigreed offenses.
The Capital One Orange Bowl, New Year's Eve, should be a good one here.